obviously you guys are here because you are familiar with our brand, but for those of you that are maybe a little bit newer, we are a pro-only brand. So we do only sell to licensed professionals. And when we formulate our products, we really try our hardest to use clean ingredients, but also make formulas that are going to perform the way that you as pro artists need them to. We do formulate without gluten, parabens, talc. We are animal cruelty free. And when we can, we try to formulate without synthetic dyes, synthetic fragrance. So if you have any questions, again, feel free to ask, but we're gonna go ahead and jump in. So you all have the product knowledge manual in your binders, so you can turn to that. We've left enough space so that you guys can take notes. And then this is arranged in the way that you would traditionally apply makeup, which is going to work very well for our girls working on the models. So we're gonna go ahead and start with the skincare. So we did develop a 3-piece skincare system earlier this year. If you wanna maybe talk about what was the price?
Yeah, so we talked a little bit about it yesterday, but we really wanted to formulate something that was great for all skin. And the fact that you can sell the entire set retail for $80. That is amazing. You got a cleanser, a toner, and a moisturizer for $80. It's amazing products. Sara helped us develop because she's a esthetician by trade, so she really talks about ingredient and quality. So they really do work. I don't want to use anything but the cleanser on my face. So again, it's really an easy deal when you're talking about it with your clients to say you can get a full skincare line for $80.
And so the 3 pieces are designed to work together to properly prep the skin for makeup application. Okay, so I know some of you might have other skincare lines in your business if you do aesthetic work, and that is totally fine and great. But this is something that's gonna look beautiful on your unit and that you can use when the client is right there to prep their skin before you put makeup on it. So first thing, we're gonna talk about the cleanser. Like Miranda mentioned, it is good for all skin types, super gentle. It is a creamy cleanser, okay? So while they are going to cleanse the skin here today, typically you want to emulsify that cleanser with water. So that is the pro tip that is in your manual here. They are here barefaced. If you are using the cleanser to actually get makeup off, you need to add water to it. Okay, so that is a question that I've gotten asked. This doesn't work like the old traditional cold cream, where you put it on and just wipe it off and everything comes. You need to use water with it. We do have some anti-inflammatories in there. So for anyone that has rosacea, red skin, irritated skin, it's going to help calm that down, which we all know is really a nice thing before you start applying makeup on somebody. And then it does have some humectants and moisturizing properties to it too. So it will hydrate the skin, but not so much on oily people that it's going to make that oil worse. So perfect for everybody. The second piece in that 3-step skincare system is our toner. This is a balancing toner, okay? So it's not an astringent. I think sometimes there's some confusion with that. A toner is there to just kind of refresh the skin, get rid of any residue, balance the pH. It is not there to strip the skin at all. But this does have some alcohol-free witch hazel in it, which is really good for oily skin. So it will kind of help cut additional grease on the skin. But it also has hydrators in it as well. So it is still going to moisturize for those people that need a little bit of hydration in the skin. I like to actually use this on the lips as well. So I do this every morning on my lips, and then I'll put a little bit of lip balm on and let all that sit while I do the rest of my makeup. But it's a nice refresher. And it does actually help get lip product off or like lip liner off at the end of the night if your cleanser hasn't taken everything off. So perfect little pro tip for that.
And we just wanted to make sure it was gentle enough for all skin tones. So it is, for us, really important that you can use it on all clients and not have to have 5 or 6 different toners for different clients' skin. So it's gentle but effective on all skin tones.
And a question that I get, because this does have witch hazel in it, but we say that it's alcohol-free, it is possible to have alcohol-free witch hazel. So I know that seems counterintuitive because we're used to witch hazel kind of being astringent and tingly and really strong smelling. It just has to do with how the witch hazel is distilled. They are able to remove the alcohol from it. So you get the benefits of the witch hazel, which is very healing, cuts oil, but 0 alcohol, so it's not drying.
We learned that the hard way because the first time it came over with alcohol. So
Sure did.
yeah.
Okay, third piece of the skincare system is our Renew Moisturizer. This moisturizer is fantastic, guys. If you have not tried it, it is also good for all skin types. So we did make it a lotion as opposed to a heavy cream, and one of the reasons for that is so that it absorbs into the skin pretty quickly. I'm sure that you guys have all made this mistake. You put moisturizer on, it's not absorbed, you go to put your makeup on, and the makeup will not blend in, it will not sit properly on the skin. So we wanted to make something that was light, but still very hydrating. So we have a lot of things in here. There are peptides in it, so it has some anti-aging properties. We have anti-inflammatories, antioxidants, so again, a little bit of boost of anti-aging ingredients there.
Vitamin C, which is great for the skin.
And then we have some ceramides. So that really helps strengthen the skin. So with your peptides and your ceramides, you're getting some anti-aging benefits here. So you are going to see an improvement in the skin with continued use on this product. But it is still good for oily skin. I know a lot of oily skin people don't like to use moisturizer, but this is perfect because it's going to balance them out. But it is also good for people with dry skin. So again, we really tried to create everything to get everybody across the board.
And it absorbs very quickly. So if you are doing a full face application, then it's going to absorb quickly so you're not waiting for a very thick moisturizer, but it's still moisturizing.
Absolutely.
Right.
I use it on my hands sometimes too. So, okay, so we are going to let the skincare kind of sit for a minute and talk about some of our tools and brush cleaner, things like that. So first item is the Wipeout. This has been around for a while, and I think we're all familiar with makeup wipes, okay? They're everywhere. Ours are fantastic because they're alcohol-free. So we do try to formulate without alcohol when we can. They also have micellar water in it. So if you guys don't know what that is, those act as little like dirt sponges to pull dirt and oil away from the skin. Super good for the skin. Again, it's not stripping, but it is getting everything really nice and clean. And then these also have glycerin in it, which is a humectant. So what that means is when you put that on your skin, it's pulling water from the air to help hydrate the skin. So you get that added benefit as well. I sometimes, if I have a little bit of makeup left over, I'll kind of do one of the wipes and then immediately put the moisturizer on because that's going to kind of help seal in the moisture that has pulled from that wipe.
And they've got aloe too, so it's also, if you have sensitive skin, it's going to help with any kind of redness.
Absolutely. Okay, next thing, you guys will probably have to flip your page there. We're going to talk about some of our tools. Now, I'm not going to go into every single brush, but you can see in your manual that we have lined out every brush and how to use it, what it's good for. First thing is our Red Pro brush set. Hopefully you guys have all seen that. It's been out for a little while. Kelly can hold one up there. So these brushes, when they came out, they were all new shapes. So I think there was a little bit of confusion about that. These were new shapes and ones that we created to kind of fill holes in the signature brush collection. The hair is super, super high quality synthetic. So very, very soft. Most of those have a densely packed bristles, which is really great for your bases and blush and things like that. But synthetic hair is one of the things, like that's been a goal of ours because some of the old brushes had animal hair. And again, we're trying to be animal cruelty free, and we're trying to be as vegan as we can when that is an option. So we're moving away from that animal hair, and we've put the synthetic hair in the new brushes. Another cool thing about all of our brushes is the handles are weighted. So I don't know if you guys have ever like held our brush and been like, this is a heavy brush. Completely different than other brushes you can find out there. And as pro artists, having that weight in the brush gives you more control. I will say don't throw it on the ground or don't drop it because that weight can come loose, so be careful with them. But super high quality. Like I mentioned yesterday, if you take care of these brushes properly, you're going to get 10 years or so out of them. So it is an investment, but they're going to last, and pro brushes are going to apply your product better.
And we use the highest quality synthetic hair that you can find. It's Korean hair. You will not find a better synthetic brush out there on the market. If you do, send it to me. I'd love to see it. But honestly, we have really, really worked hard to give you guys the best brushes for the money.
And one of the reasons for that too is I think there was stigma around synthetic brushes in the pro world for a long time because the fibers weren't great. And so they just didn't apply as beautifully as animal hair brushes did. But as technology advances and things like that, they have come up with this hair that applies powders perfectly, where prior you couldn't get a synthetic that did that. So we did try really hard to get you hair that's going to apply all the products properly. Signature brush collection, most of these have been out for a long time. I'm not going to go through every single one of those. Hopefully you guys are familiar with it. I do want to point out the Kabuki. This, guys, is your best friend for your Mirabella minutes, okay? So the Kabuki and the Pure Press, when you're doing Mirabella minutes, we stress a lot that this should be something super quick, okay? Because you're not going to do a full face application. We all know how long it takes to color match someone with a liquid, how hard it is to blend in a liquid if you're touching up someone. So use your Pure Press and use your Kabuki. Got to be your best friend. Okay.
Anybody have any questions on any of the brushes? And also too, if you guys ever feel like we are missing a brush that is not your favorite, send it to us. I'm not going to say that I'm going to make it, but we like to get that feedback because we're always wanting to stay ahead of the curve.
We have a little running list going of potential brushes, but if you guys have other ideas, like we're definitely open to that.
Do you just, like say, I have one from a different company that's for eyeshadow, but it's a little thicker and it's a slanted. I mean, you do have the slanted ones in the small, but it's really great for doing this part of the eye.
Send me a picture or send me a picture or send me the brush, honestly, and that's going to be the best bet. And the one thing that I do want to talk about is the red brush set. It is a travel case. It should be a no-brainer. People can put their pencils in, throw it in their suitcase, and go. It is awesome. Coming up on Christmas, it should be a great lead in to talk about like a stocking stuffer for your clients.
Everybody in my family has one now, just because it's like a great way for them to start out with our brushes. And of course now they're addicted, so they're wanting to add to the collection. A question I do get asked about the red brush set is, will some of the other brushes fit? Yes, they do all fit. So there's not one that is too tall. If you get it too packed, you might have to work a little bit to get the lid on, but all of the signature brushes fit in the red brush roll as well.
Yes.
Okay. Okay, Flawless Silicone Blender. How many of you guys use this? Okay, that's more than I expected. Some people love it, some people hate it. I'm gonna be honest with you, when I first started working for Mirabella, they gave me one, I used it one time and I put it in the trash can. I hated it. It takes some practice, but once you get used to it, it actually is a fantastic tool. One of the things I like to mention is when you're using it, you need to hold it a certain way. Do you have one? Okay.
Well, and we just dropped the price across the board to $7 retail. So it's very affordable, and the best thing for you guys is that you can sanitize it,
Yes.
whereas you cannot sanitize a regular makeup sponge effectively.
Right, yeah, there's no way to do that. And for those of you using beauty blenders and sponges like that on multiple kinds, please do not do that. I'm a huge sanitation freak, and you cannot sanitize a sponge, okay? So that's where this guy comes in. So you'll notice there's a seam on one side of this. You want to put that seam towards your hand, and then I'll put my pointer finger here and kind of curve it around, okay? You cannot do this and have it, get a good finish. You need to tap it this way, or you need to roll it like this, which I think is one of the big mistakes people make. This is silicone. It's not a brush where it absorbs a little bit of the product so that when you're kind of stippling or blending around, it's distributing. When you're doing this, it's just picking it back up. So you can't swipe. You have to tap it in or stipple or roll it. Okay?
So the benefits too is you have zero waste because
Absolutely.
there's nothing that's being absorbed into the sponge. So there's pros and cons to this. Play with it, utilize it a little bit, especially when applying makeup. Once people fall in love with it, then they love it.
I personally, I have to mix 2 different foundations for myself, and I mix them on this guy. And then I distribute it and then buff it in with a brush. So it's a nice way to do that and not waste it on a palette or the back of your hand or something too. So Thank you, ma'am. All right, next item is the Purify brush cleanser, okay? We made a spray so that it is something quick and so that you can keep it next to your unit. And I talked about this in sanitation yesterday. This is great if you're needing to change color. We all have our favorite brushes, you know, especially for eyes, I do anyway. And so I like maybe 2 brushes the best, but I'm applying 4 or 5 colors on the eye. So I need to cleanse that brush really quickly when I'm changing color. So that's where the Purify comes in. It is, it has a little bit of tangerine, so it smells good, but that's also antibacterial. And then we have conditioning ingredients in it too, so aloe and glycerin, which is really important for your brushes because you don't want those bristles to get dried out. So the way you want to use this, I see people just spritz the brush and they're like, oh, it's clean. It doesn't work that way, guys. You need to have a towel, and I recommend like an actual towel, something like this, not a paper towel because paper towels will shred. You want to generously spritz the towel. You can spray the brush as well and then work that brush on the towel to get all the color and all the makeup out of it. This is quick dry, and it does have some alcohol in it, all right? So you get a little bit of a sanitizing property, but definitely check with your state boards because for most boards, that's not gonna be enough to sanitize, okay? So you'll still need to spritz your brushes with alcohol. But super great as a quick clean between clients or between colors.
It's an $18 retail, so it's quick and easy for you guys to add if you're selling a brush to your client.
Yeah, this is perfect if you're retailing to a client because especially if they're investing in our brushes, the last thing you want is that they're not cleaning them at all for a couple months. This is such a small bottle, they can just keep it with their brushes or keep it with their makeup and then just, you know, clean daily when they're done using their brushes. So it's perfect for them to keep their brushes nice. Somebody had a question, yeah.
Will you ever come out with a brush shampoo?
The question was, will we ever come out with a brush shampoo?
Yeah.
I'm going to turn that over to you.
Oh, maybe, I don't know. I think Mirabella used to have a brush shampoo. I'm not sure. For right now, I always say, you know, use a baby shampoo. Again, if we know we have a market for it, we know we're going to sell it, then I love coming out with new stuff. It's my favorite thing to do. We just have to make sure that we've got a market for it. So right now, it's not slated, but I'll take it into consideration.
But yes, please wash your brushes too. Okay, we get that question all the time. You can use the Purify, but you do need to wash your brushes every night.
Well, I
Yeah.
was just gonna say, and this is not, shouldn't do it, trying to retail, or like retailing the wipes, but even myself, like the Purify, I spray my brush, you know, wipe it on the towel, but then I will wipe them on the makeup removers also.
The Wipeout, the wipes.
Yeah, the Wipeout. Is that?
Nope, yeah, that's fine.
fine.
Absolutely.
Yep.
I even use the Wipeouts too because I actually like putting on my eyeshadow a little bit wet or damp. So I'll put my, because I don't want it completely soaked. So I'll just put it on the wipe and then that way it's a little bit damp to pick up the eyeshadow as well. Multiple uses.
Prior to us having the Purify brush cleanser, that's what I did.
Okay.
When I was working on clients, I used the Wipeout for quick clean. The Purify dries a little bit faster.
Well, it does, but okay, say you're at the end of, you know, I mean, I'm talking about home use. I'm not.
Oh, for sure,
really
yeah.
talking that, okay, then you put them back in your case and so on, and then they'll be dry by the next morning or
Right.
whatever.
Yep, totally fine to do that.
Okay.
All right, next thing is Bulletproof. You need to tell the story.
All right, so well, I could have just gotten up and come to just like I looked last night because Bulletproof is amazing. But last week was the Kansas City Art Fair. It was rainy. It was awful. Had a couple glasses of wine. Went to sleep. Got up. Lane's like, "Do you want to go to the art fair again?" I go, "Well, we better get running so that we can go before it starts raining again." And so we ended up at a party, and they're like, "Oh man, your makeup looks awesome." I'm like, "That's awesome because it's from yesterday." So, anyways, the Bulletproof really does work. It will stay all day. It does not dry out. It's got peony root in it, which is an antioxidant, but it really is just an amazing spray. And you can use it to set eyeshadows and everything as well.
Yeah, so this is fantastic. And there are a couple different ways you can use this. Obviously, you can use it at the end of an application to set the makeup. One thing I like to do for my super, super oily clients is spray this on after I've done their skincare. So I've prepped their skin. I'm going to spray the Bulletproof on. Okay, it's going to help create a barrier because it is mattifying. So that when they start to get that breakthrough shine, it hits the Bulletproof first to kind of stop that before it can get through your primer and get through your foundation and show additional shine. If you're going to use that technique on someone, you need to make sure that you are stippling the foundation on top. So I've had people ask that. They've sprayed with Bulletproof and then they go to buff their foundation on and it's like moving around, you know, they can't like get a good finish. So you need to stipple it on top. And then like Miranda mentioned, she likes to apply some shadows wet. Using Bulletproof on your brush to get the shadow wet and then stippling it onto the eyelid gives a really super cool like foil effect, especially if you use a shimmery shadow, but it just makes the colors much more bold. And then because it is a setting spray, that shadow is not going anywhere.
Yeah, so if you're looking for that deeper eye, then that's what you're going to do is use the Bulletproof, and that's going to give you a lot more pigment compared to just a regular dry brush.
Not to mention that it's a great way to use any shadow color as a liquid liner. So we have the dual-ended liner and brow brush, and you can get that little angled tip wet with the Bulletproof, pick up some shadow, and then any shadow can be a liquid liner. So super cool. All right, so we're going to get into the products that these ladies are going to start applying. First one is our primers. So we have 2 different primers. We're going to kind of go into each, but they are very different, and they you want to use them in different ways. So the first is the Prime for Face. This has been around for a little bit, but we redesigned the packaging. So some of you might be familiar with the old packaging where it's that skinny silver tube. This is actually like twice the product for the same price.
And thicker. So
yes.
It was very runny before, which was kind of hard.
So this is your silicone-based primer. Okay, so this is very similar to a traditional primer that most of us have used before, most of us are used to. This is going to be your spackle for the skin. So it is thick, so it's going to fill in those pores, it's going to fill in any fine lines. And I think originally Mirabella was saying that this was good for dry skin. Silicone by itself is not hydrating at all, okay? It's just an ingredient that creates a barrier and fills in things. So I actually recommend this for oily skin people. You want to use it very sparingly, but it helps create a barrier on the skin. So again, you don't see that breakthrough shine. So like I said, use it sparingly. So Sarah's distributing it with the Flawless Blender. There are a couple different ways you can do it. So she's kind of spreading it on the skin like this, and that's totally fine. If you have areas where there is a lot of texture, so a lot of wrinkling, large pores, maybe some scarring, you're going to want to press it into the skin. And all this is in the manual too, so don't feel like if you guys forget, you're never going to hear the info again. It is in the manual. But you'll want to press or stipple that into the skin, and then I'll do just like a light sweep just to make sure everything is nice and even. For people that are dry, I will use this only where they need it. Okay, so just where there's wrinkling or just where there's large pores. I won't put it all over the skin. I'll just use it where it's needed. Okay, so I'm going to hop over to Awaken. This is a very different primer. I think most of us are used to a primer that's thick in some way. This is a serum primer. So it is very runny. I do recommend that you shake it up before you use it. This is super hydrating. So for those people that are dry, for those people that have some skin laxity issues, it's going to actually help tighten and lift that skin as well. And I know that Miranda has said before, if you take somebody and you put it just around one eye and wait a few minutes and then show them, they'll see a difference. Okay, it's not going to be like they had surgery, all right, but it will be enough difference that they're like, oh
wow,
holy
that looks
cow.
great, yeah.
You know, it's a good way to sell it. This I use on oily skin people, but only where they need it. So maybe you're oily, but you're dry around your eyes, or maybe you're dry around your mouth. Put the Awaken there and put the Prime everywhere else. For someone that is dry and maybe they have wrinkles, put it all over. This is gonna really help hydrate their skin, and then you can press Prime on top of it if they have areas that they need it. I use both primers together all the time, and on most clients, that's what I do. You just wanna make sure that you put Awaken on first. Okay, Any questions about the primers? All right. Then we have our Prime for Lips, which you guys got in your bags, and this is a brand new product. This is a lip scrub in a stick form. Okay, so it's a sugar lip scrub. So the sugar is what helps exfoliate the lips, and the sugar will dissolve on the lips. So my recommendation, and it says it in the pro tip here, is to apply it on the lips toward the beginning of your application and then let it sit as you do the rest of your makeup or as you do the rest of the client's makeup so that sugar starts to dissolve. But you can have them kind of rub their lips together. You can go in with your finger and work it in. But that sugar will dissolve, and then there's some moisturizing oils in it. There's a bunch, so I'm not going to read them all, but they're all listed out here.
Grapeseed oil and vitamin E and shea butter and all these things are going to really be beneficial for your lips and help heal if they're struggling, especially as we go into fall. Yes, you have a question?
So for like using this on a client, you can scrape it out and then
Yep.
use it on it?
Absolutely.
So the question was using on a client. So you're going to use the same sanitation practices that you heard from Sara yesterday by, putting it on a stick and then putting it on the client. But it's safe to eat off as well. So if they want to lick their lips, it's, it is safe, but it's going to give a very moisturized, very clean, fresh, dewy lip before you put on any kind of lip product. Yes.
What is this retail for? Is this
18.
Yeah, it's not out yet.
No,
Right.
it should be here actually October. Honestly, like the middle of October. Call your rep. Make sure you place an order, and like I said, it will be a permanent SKU in Cosmoprof in March. But for right now, we have the small little holiday POP that's available. But we literally only have 200. So if you want one, grab one, and then I'll have some open stock if you need to fill it in the future. But again, I also got the question if there was going to be any place in the display. Right now, there's not. I would just find whatever lipstick color that is not selling for you very well and just put that in that hole.
There's also space like next to the primers too if you want to prop it up there to remind yourself like, hey, I should do this before the application starts. So, and it's in the same tube that we have all the other lipsticks in, but we put a clear acrylic on the top of it, so you'll be able to tell which one it is on your unit.
And it also has a silver color rather than a gold color, which is the piece in the middle. So, kind of like we did the lipsticks, the gold lip, the mattes have the gold color, and the regular lipsticks have the silver. So I try to make it a little bit different for you guys.
Okay. Any other questions? All right. Okay, so we're going to get into foundations now. We have 3 liquids and 1 powder foundation. All right, I'm going to start with Invincible. This is the newest liquid to the line. The other 2 we've kind of had in existence in one form or another for a while. Invincible is my go-to for anyone that is going to be on camera, anyone that's going to have their picture taken, any special events. And the reason for that is that this is an HD foundation. So if you guys don't know what HD means, because that term is kind of like thrown around all over the place in this industry, the pigment particles are a little bit smaller than normal, and they also have a special coating on them. So whenever they lay on the skin, light is diffused. So when the light hits it, it's bounced back, but it's diffused and scattered. So that means you don't see all these imperfections. Non-HD formulas, when the light hits it, it just is bounced back directly, which means if you have a pore or wrinkle that's like this, light is directly reflected back, so you're seeing that pore, you're seeing that wrinkle. HD means when the light hits it, it scatters it, so you don't see it. This one is also great because it has a demi matte finish. So it's not straight up chalk matte, which I think is a concern with some clients because they're like, I don't want to look matte, like it's going to make my wrinkles look worse. It's not going to look great. It's just matte enough that everything looks nice and velvety. Okay.
Well, and Sara, I think, is stippling it on. It's my go-to foundation. I don't wear anything else, but it kind of gives you that airbrushed look without being airbrushed. It really does. And then it's also got an anti-aging ingredient in it that we have clinicals behind it that show that it is proven that it helps with fine lines. It is proven that it helps with age spots. So make sure to share that with your client. And I know I was talking to the owners, the best way to show this, especially when somebody's sitting in the chair, is if they have age spots on their hands, simply put a small dab, because like a teeny tiny bit will cover the client's entire hand, and just have them compare the two the two hands because it is night and day difference.
So the anti-aging ingredient is something called Matrixyl 3000, and I put in parentheses here that that's a peptide complex. And the reason I did that is I've had people look at the ingredients and say, that's a lie, there's no Matrixyl in there. The peptides are listed out individually, okay? So there's 3 peptides that make up that complex, and they're listed out individually on the ingredient list. So she is stippling. Stippling with this foundation is my recommendation. You can buff it in, but I find that you get a much better finish if you stipple. And in addition, if you work in sections of the face. Also, do not pick up the foundation with your brush, okay? So I recommend the, this guy, Sculpting Foundation and Contour Brush. This is the one we were talking about earlier. This is designed to specifically work with Invincible. It's the brush that is on the swatch book. So don't do this and go to the face. You're going to waste so much foundation, and it's gonna get caked in the center of your brush here. So with the Invincible, distribute it on the face first. So whether you want to, on yourself, do that with your fingers, or this guy is perfect for that. I also use, we don't have one out, the flat foundation brush. And I'll almost put like stripes on the client's face and then come in with this and stipple. Okay.
This is our best-selling brush. If you guys are not selling brushes, this is the one that you should show every single client because it is amazing.
So anytime you sell Invincible, sell them this guy too, because they will be much happier with the application if they have this brush as well.
Are those available individually?
Absolutely, yeah, for sure.
Yeah, so you're asking because it was in the red set, and we do have all those brushes available for individual sale now too. Yep. Okay, questions about Invincible? Okay. So next one is CC Cream. CC Cream, we have changed the packaging so that you're going to see the airless pump, which is what Invincible is in. The airless pump for the foundations is really great. One of the big complaints we got with CC and Skin Tint bottles is that they felt like product was wasted because you can't get everything out of it. That pump, the airless pump, moves up as you use the product, meaning you're using all of it. In addition, you're going to see that it says Defense on it when the new version starts coming out. This is the only foundation in our liquids that has sunscreen in it. Okay, so the others have a little bit of sunscreen because they have some minerals in it, but not enough to really protect you. Any protection you're getting from the others is solely because you have a coating of something on your skin. This one does have an SPF 20. So for those clients that you know they're not going to put sunscreen on, but they want it to be in their foundation, this is going to be a good option for them. CC is really a formula that is good for everyone. It has some hydrating ingredients in it. It has a little bit of witch hazel in it to cut excess oil, so it will help with oil control. And then there are little tiny beads in CC cream. Have you guys ever noticed that? Some people notice it, some people don't.
So we kind of, and for those of you guys that were at the first conference, the beads, everybody was told that they were vitamin E, and then come to find out that they were caviar eggs, and now they're actually gone back to vitamin E. So bottom line is it still has some caviar extract because that's what makes it feel and work very luxuriously. So it still has a caviar extract in it, but they actually are vitamin E beads now that will pop on the skin and then help make the skin a little bit smoother and creamier.
Right, so some people get confused. We've had people think that they see the beads and they're like, oh, it's chunky, the formula's bad, like this is no good. You need to educate the client. Like that was something that I think Mirabella struggled with before when people weren't understanding what those beads were for, clients are returning it. So let them know the beads are there so that vitamin E is encapsulated, so it keeps it nice and creamy and good until you go to apply it and it bursts on the skin, making that formula even more creamy. Very spreadable, easy to apply. So just make sure to let them know that that's what those little beads are. This formula is also anti-inflammatory. And then there's something else. Oh, we have some antioxidants in it as well. So it's kind of your do-it-all foundation. Good for everybody. Questions? Yeah.
That vitamin E, the molecule is too big to actually clog the pores, correct?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. That's what I always remind my clients.
Well, and I get a question about non-comedogenic all the time. We don't label anything that way because there is no regulation for that term. Same thing with hypoallergenic, terms like that. I know being a a line that's on the cleaner side, people are like, why don't you use those terms? If you ever have a client ask you those questions and you don't know how to answer, ask me and I have some verbiage like written up. But there's no regulation for terms like that. So natural or whatever, you could have a manufacturer wave a sprig of lavender over a vat of something and be like, it's natural. Like there's no regulation for that.
Yeah, it's really crazy.
So we don't say non-comedogenic, but most of our products are formulated so that they're safe for acneic skin. Okay?
Okay, would you say, just like what you said, people not applying a sunscreen or whatever, do the anti-aging first and then put this on top of it? Would that be your...
I would not do that, no. I think the formulations are too different. Not to mention you're going to get too much product on the skin, but I don't think layering them like that is going to give the best finish. You can mix them. I mix the foundations all the time. But when you do that, you're probably not getting enough SPF either because you're almost diluting it. So
I know, but we all have that client that's like, oh, I got to have that SPF, so...
Well, so then just sell them the CC cream.
Yep.
I mean, if they want to use the Invincible, I would just recommend that they put a light sunscreen on first, and then the Invincible.
Yeah, and that's kind of one of the things that it's our job to educate them. You know what I mean? So sometimes people are very against sunscreen because they think it's going to make them look greasy or they don't like the feel. So you just need to educate them on how important it is for them to find a formula that works for them. If they want kind of the finish and stuff that Invincible gives them, they need to wear a sunscreen underneath.
Well, and you got to remember too that it does have SPF 20 in it, but just new regulations. Even if we have testing, which we have testing, we're not allowed to put it on the bottle. It's really so. But just make sure that you know that that's why we did the SPF. Yes, question.
I don't have a good answer to that. I'd have to research it a little bit more. We have not encountered it. I don't think that would be an issue, but I'd want to research it a little bit more.
What was the question?
The question was if you have someone with a shellfish allergy, do we need to be concerned about the caviar extract?
We've never had, knock on wood, we've never had any issues with that. And it is a small amount, but I don't know.
I'll have to research it and I can let you know.
We'll get back to you on it.
I can tell you now, the shellfish isn't going to be a problem. I had a very severe shellfish allergy, and because caviar is from fish,
Right.
sturgeon, it's not a problem.
Okay. Well, thank you. Well, that's good to know that we didn't have to worry about it.
Okay, the third of our liquid foundations is the Skin Tint. This guy has been around forever, and I think people forget about it, but it actually is a really fabulous formulation. Something I didn't mention, Invincible and CC are full coverage, okay? So that's the most coverage. Skin Tint is medium coverage. Once upon a time, and on this old bottle right here, it says full coverage, and that is because when Mirabella came out with that was full coverage for what they offered in the line. Okay, especially back in the day, full coverage was not like all the rage. Once there became a need for fuller coverage, that's where the other two foundations came in. Okay, so we have changed it to say medium coverage on it. So it is a little bit lighter. So for your clients that don't like the feel of foundation on their skin, but they really need some, evening of the skin tone, this is a good option for them. This one is a little bit thinner. So it's almost like a gel cream formula as opposed to like a straight up cream. You'll notice when you pump them out side by side that this one is a little bit thinner.
And it's good for skin with acne. And we were talking about doing makeup classes or tutorials for teenagers. So obviously the mom doesn't want her probably full coverage makeup. So you would probably teach on with Skin Tint. I mean, not only for the fact that there's medium coverage, but also for any kind of oil control and acne control. Yeah,
and it is hydrating as well. So for your clients that are just super, super dry, sometimes having skin that dry makes them very, very sensitive as well. This is going to be your go-to. So for anyone with problems in the skin like that, or like Miranda said, severe acne, if I have a client that is just really crazy breaking out, and it happens a lot with teenagers, this is going to be your first stop because this has more anti-inflammatories in it than the other two. Okay, so it's going to help calm that redness down. And I've even had people, when I've gone and done classes, say, when I was a teenager, I started using that and I had terrible acne, and it actually helped like calm things down. So I think that's something people don't think about a lot. They have a teenager that's breaking out. They're like, oh, let's get them to the derm. Let's get them on a med. Think about the makeup they're putting on their skin too. This really will help.
And you can always get them the toner, because the toner is going to help balance that
Absolutely.
skin.
Would you guys ever think about making an airbrush foundation? Because that's our biggest thing, why if we don't get wedding parties, it's because they want someone to airbrush it. Even though you can prove to them that the look will be just straight. It's the name that people want, but
We have never talked about that. And I mean, as a makeup artist, I'm someone that has used both traditional foundations and airbrush. I think a lot of it comes down to educating, and I think that airbrush is like the hot topic right now. And I do think that the public, because they're not as well informed as we are being pros, they sometimes confuse airbrush makeup with airbrushing Photoshop. Because back in the day, editing photos was called airbrushing, right? And so they see that and they think, okay, well, if I get airbrush, that makes my skin look this way, which is not the case. So some of it is just educating them, and you're always going to have those people that no matter what you tell them in their head, they think they want airbrush. I don't know that we're ever going to create something like that.
It's not currently slated.
Right. I mean, airbrush has its place, but I do think at some point it will go out of style.
And what I would say is we have a foundation that gives you the airbrush look that also has an anti-aging ingredient in it and is an HD finish. Therefore, it will give you that airbrush look. Your skin will look flawless. So give them an opportunity to come in, and you can always even just show them, you know, on their hand is what I would do.
Something I have done before when someone's been requesting airbrush is pulled up photos. And for those of you that sat in my consultation class yesterday, we had those before and after photos. When you airbrush someone, if they rub it or something, it does come off and it will be a noticeable mark, and you then cannot fix it.
Well, yeah, if you cry like if they cry, then literally there will be a line all the way down their face for the rest of the day.
Yeah, you can't go back in and fix that, which is the nice thing as artists. I think why more people gravitate toward traditional foundation formulas, because you can alter it and fix it if you need to.
So that's how I would sell it.
Okay, any other questions on the liquid foundations? All right, so the last option for foundation is our Pure Press. I think a lot of people don't know this is actually a foundation. So it can be full coverage depending on how you apply it, and we'll get into that a little bit. The nice thing about the Pure Press is that it has some mica in it, which is light diffusing. Okay, so it's going to perfect the look of the skin when you use it. It does have some jojoba, which is like a dry form of jojoba, and a triglyceride in there, so it is moisturizing compared to other powders that you find, and then some antioxidants. But the super cool thing about Pure Press is that it's triple milled. So if you don't know what that means, it means that the pigment particles are really, really small, and it creates like a web or a netting of pigment on the skin, which we all talk and make expressions. You want that to be able to flex and move with the skin. It's also one of the things that makes it water resistant. Water resistant, guys, not waterproof. Because I have people think that they can like shower and it's gonna stay there. That is not how this works, but it's water resistant. You could get rained on and it's not gonna completely like wreck it, you know? A little mist is totally fine. But the triple milling, a way I like to explain it to my clients is that if you think of like a mason jar, okay, and you have that mason jar and it's full of pebbles, think of that as like regular pigment particles in competitors' powders. When you hold that jar of pebbles up to the sun, you can still see a little bit of light coming through it. Then you take a triple milled powder, and that's like filling the same jar with sand. Okay, so same substance, really, really small particles, no light's getting through it. So you have this complete web of pigment, so it looks really nice on the skin and gives a really good finish. Okay. I get asked all the time if you can mix formulas. I mentioned that earlier. Yes, you can. Pure Press can also be used on top of one of the liquids. So if I have somebody that has a lot of acne or a lot of scarring, maybe even a lot of pigment, right? I will always layer Pure Press on top of the liquid. and I am doing that in a stipple motion. I'm a huge fan of stippling, so if you guys have ever had a class with me, you know that I talk about stippling almost every single product. And the reason for that is because you want to push that product in right where you want it to stay. You do all this business, and it's just kind of going willy-nilly, really. You're not getting the finish that you want. So if you're working with someone that has a lot of texture, that acne, stippling pure press on top of the liquid is going to help cover that and give a really nice glowy finish, really.
And guys, this is perfect for your Mirabella Minute. It's super easy to apply with a kabuki brush, and it's gonna give them a really nice finished look after they've been sitting in the chair. They look, I mean, they've had half their face washed off. You want them to look pretty when they look in the mirror when they get in their car, and all you gotta do is just do a quick brush over with pure press. It's perfect, it's easy, they can throw it in their purse. You know, it's $39, and I mean, if that's all they buy from you, it's $39.
I mean, people love this. They're addicted. And the nice thing about it is it's versatile, so you can use it a bunch of different ways. If you use a big fluffy brush, you can kind of use it just to set the makeup, so it's gonna give a lighter coat on the skin. You can use your kabuki. With the kabuki, you can do kind of this buff. You can also stipple with the kabuki, but you're gonna get the heaviest coverage if you use it with a sponge. And that is something I do wanna mention. It comes with a sponge, right? Make sure you store it under here. Please do not use it and then stick it on top of the powder. And make sure to tell your client that too. That's why this compact is designed the way that it is, because the second you do this and touch your face and then you put it right back onto the powder, oil, moisturizer, primer, anything that has gotten on that sponge is going to mess up the finish or the texture of your powder. Not to mention it's just gross. So don't do that. On your unit, I take the sponge out so it's not there, because you're gonna have a client that's like, oh, let me do this, whoop, and then they're gonna put it back on top of the compact. So take the sponge out so that people aren't tempted to do that. All right, questions? No? Okay, next item in our complexion products is the Perfecting Concealer. So hopefully all of you guys have picked up the new version of this. It's been out for a little while now. We went to a stick concealer as opposed to the liquid, and there are multiple reasons for that. One is that the biggest complaint I got is people felt like the product was wasted in the old container. I'm sure you guys saw this. You would have no product right in the center, and there's product at the bottom and product at the top, and you couldn't get it out, right?
We still have some if you missed the old one though.
So this way it is in a stick, so you're gonna be able to turn it all the way up and use all the product. Also, we were getting asked for more coverage. Okay, the old liquid was nice and you could build on it. So if you're totally a fan of that, you can get heavy coverage with that old one. It just took a little bit more time. So this is a thicker formula. You're going to get more coverage with it, but it's still creamy, so you can still blend it out. Okay, really great for under the eyes. Does cover blemishes and things like that nicely as well.
You can also use it for highlighting.
Absolutely, highlight, contour. Some people just really love a stick foundation, and this is a good alternative for them, especially if you're trying to like carve out that cheekbone or go around the jawline, especially if you're in a hurry. Just on yourself, don't do this on a client. Take the stick and mark it where you need to, blend it out real quick, and you're done. Okay?
Yes.
So we have the new version and we aren't fans, and we're trying to become fans. So tell us what we're doing wrong. So we feel like it's too thick and cakey looking when we applied it. Especially Chrissy uses it on herself. Love the old one. And
How are you applying it?
well, that's what I was just looking at with the detail brush before. I don't have the detail.
Okay. So I find, are you feeling that way on yourself or on clients? Okay.
I
So-
feel that way on guests at the salon.
Okay, so one of the big problems when we're putting it on ourselves is that, especially under the eye area, I think, is when you're applying it straight from the stick, you're laying way too much product down. I like to scrape it off and then almost like I use my palette, but warm it up a little bit. Okay, so it thins it out a teeny bit, and then apply again like in layers until you get the coverage that you want. But I think a lot of times we're applying far too much, and that product is not like warmed up. It's in a stick, guys, so it has a certain amount of wax to hold the form. So you just have to get it warmed up.
And sometimes you can always take a little bit of the moisturizer if you're feeling like it's too thick or cakey. Apply just a tiny bit of the moisturizer in it so that it thins it out a little bit.
I will also apply a little bit of moisturizer around the eye area, like extra, and let it sit for a second, and then apply this while that moisturizer is still a little bit damp. Okay, questions? Okay.
Is there a right or wrong about, I mean, we're putting it on over the foundation.
Yep.
But, a lot of people think they need to put it on before.
It's personal preference, right?
It is. I recommend doing it post-foundation solely for the fact that you're going to use less. Okay, so if you're trying to conceal before you put foundation on, you've done all this work getting everything concealed, and then you're going to put foundation on top of it. Like, to me, it makes sense to put the foundation on, see where you get, see what's left and needs more concealing, then go in with the concealer. Okay, anything else? All right, so we're going to get to the 2 finishing powders we have. We have the perfecting powder. So this is starting to come out, I think, soon, right?
Oh,
Okay.
Let me see if I got one.
Kelly has one.
Oh, Kelly does?
Yes. Kelly has the new one. If you want to circle around, like,
Yeah.
turns, these people up here can see it too. It looks the same until you open it, okay? And there's a little puff inside of it.
So this is a new and improved formula. It's more matte than shimmery. There's a puff inside, but there's also a mirror inside the cap. So these should be starting to ship. They're available at Cosmoprof. We're super excited about it just because it's been tweaked just a little bit. It's amazing, and it's got just a little bit more color, like more neutral color than the old one. But again, the matte finish is what we're really excited about.
So the old version of this product was fantastic, and some people liked that it had that shimmer in there. However, the little bit of shimmer didn't look great on everyone. And I was actually trying to do a video, I don't know, a year and a half ago or something with the original perfecting powder. And on camera, I could not get the skin to look the way I wanted. It just did not have enough of a perfecting quality. It wasn't living up to its name, let's say. Mm-hmm. So we did change that formula a little bit, and a puff is going to give you the airbrush finish. Someone asked me yesterday in hands-on how I get this like airbrush finish. It is Invincible, being stippled on, and then using that powder with a puff or with a sponge. So it is still great to dust on a light coat of that if you want maybe a little bit more of a glowy finish. But if you're trying to get straight up velvet porcelain looking skin, stipple this powder in where you need it. So this is fantastic, and I swear to God it takes away the look of pores. And that's hard to do. So when you press that on with that little puff, the look of pores really is diminished. There are still great things in this. It still has a peptide in it, which is anti-aging. It has some antioxidants, has a little bit of glycerin, which helps hydrate the skin and prevent it from looking super dry on the skin. This is also a great option for placing under the eye to catch eyeshadow fallout. And then all you do is just wipe it away after you do the eye makeup.
Yeah, so just put it on heavier, and then when you're done, just finish wiping it off.
How would we use the puff for a guest?
You can't.
So
I use a sponge.
just a disposable sponge?
Yep, just the little wedges.
Cool.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And you just load it down with the powder, stipple it on, and then you can use a brush after to kind of buff away the excess. But yeah, stippling with a sponge is totally fine. Okay. Any other questions on that, guys? All right. So second option for finishing powder is our Perfect and Correct finishing powder. This is in a compact, and one of the reasons we put it in a compact is because we already have a loose version of finishing powder, and so people were asking us for something that was pressed, just because the loose can be a little bit messy sometimes. And we didn't want to just make the same thing, but in a pressed version, we wanted to give you something new. So I think there's confusion sometimes on how you use this product. Hopefully we're all familiar in some way with color theory. So whatever you're trying to correct, like say something is red, you're gonna go across your color wheel, find that color, and that is going to neutralize it. What we've done is put all the colors in here because when you mix everything together, you get like the most neutral tone. So you can use a powder brush or a kabuki, swirl everything together, buff all over the face, and it will neutralize everything in one go.
So that's for your clients with like rosacea. Is somebody asked me yesterday in the classes, I'm not quite sure how to use this. If you've got any kind of client with redness in their skin, this is perfect because it's going to neutralize it. So instead of pure press, what you'll want to do is use the color correcting, swirl it all over and put it on the whole face. Or if you're just trying to correct a certain area, then you'd use the corresponding color. Same way you fix hair is the same way that the color correcting powder works.
So I personally use the wet dry shadow brush when I am trying to, target an area and color correct it. Again, I'm a fan of stippling. You want to put that product right where you want it, and that brush is going to be perfect for it. If you use something that's too fluffy, it's going to fly everywhere. You want to press it where you need it, and that brush is going to do the job. Okay. Questions on that product? All right, so we're going to move on to eye products. First one is the eyeshadow primer.
The secret to this is not putting it on too thick. I know when we first came out with it, people would put it on too thick and it would ball up. You just need a very nice thin layer. That way you can press the product into the eyeshadow primer.
Right. So like Miranda said, people were like putting on too much and it doesn't work, my shadow's creasing. I'm talking thin, guys. You shouldn't see the product, okay? When you've gotten the right amount on and you've distributed it, you're just gonna see the eyelid. It has kind of a flesh tone to it, so it will correct some color a little bit, but you shouldn't see the product on the eye. So this is waterproof, which is awesome because it's going to ensure that your shadow stays put. It has some oil control in it too, which is good. That's a complaint that I get from some clients, that they just have super oily eyelids, so nothing stays. This has oil control in it. And a little pro tip for this, if you have other areas of the face where you're like, foundation never stays on the tip of my nose, or right here between my brows, it just is slick and stuff doesn't stick, use the eyeshadow primer there. It's not only for use on the eyelids. The formula is made so that it flexes with the skin because our eyes are constantly moving, right? So if you put it anywhere else on the face that constantly moves, that you feel like the makeup won't stay, it's going to do the job there too. Okay. All right, our eyeshadows. We are in love with the eyeshadow palettes. Miranda and everybody worked really hard to make sure they're gorgeous and they look pretty, and there's a variety of different colors. So each palette has 8 shadows and then a 360 full face highlighter in the center. So you can use that highlighter everywhere. It's not just for the eyes. So it looks really pretty on the cheeks, Cupid's bow, down the center of the nose. Each palette has a mix of mattes and shimmers, so you get a variety of textures. And then these can be used wet also. So I know we mentioned that earlier, but each palette should have a couple darker colors in it that make gorgeous eyeliners. You can use them wet with the Bulletproof. I do that with the highlighter in the center all the time. Is that Rendezvous? This is my favorite because I'm a huge fan of jewel tones and of gold. And so I use the center highlighter wet to foil on my eyelid almost every day. So you can definitely do that. A lot of the palettes have an option to use for eyebrows too. So that's one reason I travel with Rendezvous, because that brown on this left side works for my eyebrows.
It's also my favorite palette as well. A lot of times I'll just use an angled brush for if I'm in a hurry to do my eyebrows. And then again, when you use these wet, they are very, very heavily pigmented, and very buildable, especially with your eyeshadow primer.
And most of our powdered products have a powdered version of like a triglyceride or jojoba in it, which means that it stays really creamy, but that it also has a little bit of a moisturizing property, so it's not looking dry on the skin. So that's really great for people that have a lot of texture on their eyelids. It's not going to cause it to look more dry.
You want her applying the eyeshadow?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. Any questions or feedback? I know that I've heard from some of you guys that you would like to see an all matte palette or maybe a maroon palette, and we are getting there. So I do think you'll probably see some fun, inspirational things for probably holiday next year. But yeah, always tell me what you're missing or well, and that's what I really like to do. I'd like to do a maroon palette and a matte palette, and those would be kind of like two palettes that would be kind of where the couple of little holes that you don't see that we're missing right now. And then eventually, when we do stuff like that, we'll see how well it sells, and then maybe we'll discontinue one of the palettes that we have and introduce a combo of those two. So always, if we do something like that, get us feedback from your customers about how much they're liking it.
Yeah, because if you don't use the shiny ones, then you
Right.
might be.
Okay, any other questions on the shadows? Okay, so the girls are applying right now. I know eyes take a little bit longer, but that's totally fine because we have several different liner options and things to talk about. So, you know.
Any questions about them applying right now? If you didn't, we are doing the optional technique this afternoon for those of you that did not make it to yesterday's. If you have to have, if you need some application or technique.
And we're going to be hanging around afterward this afternoon too. So if you have very specific questions that you think about later, we'll be here to answer those. Okay, so we're going to move on to our eyeliner options. The first is our eye definer. So hopefully you guys have noticed that this has moved to a retractable pencil. And please pay attention to that because we have had multiple people sharpen them. They just forget, and so they stick it in the sharpener.
A gal that used to work at our salon called me the other day. She said, "Do you have a decent sharpener for these stupid lip pencils?" I chewed mine all up. I'm like, retractable ones?
Well, and I think some of that is because the texture of the actual container is very similar to like the old version of the velvet lip pencils and the blackmail. Okay, so it's almost that like plasticky wood, if that's even a thing. And you used to have to sharpen those. So people just naturally think, oh, it's one of those kinds of pencils, you need to sharpen it. But Miranda's holding up here, in case you guys didn't know, there's a sharpener in the end of every single one of these.
Yeah, so you just pull it out and it will kind of give you a little bit more defined tip. The other secret too is make sure that you keep the caps on these because they are a special creamy formula that needs to stay airtight. So it's very important that you keep the caps on them.
And I have noticed when I've gone to use the sharpener, it's easier to just swivel the actual mini sharpener around the pencil instead of hold the sharpener and turn the pencil. So just kind of swivel that on the tip of it to get it sharper. So these are a different formula, obviously, than the wood pencils. Much, much creamier. So for those clients that have kind of the textured eyelid, it's not going to tug on that skin. Okay? So it's going to glide a little bit easier on the skin. They are hard to get off.
They are waterproof.
Which is fantastic. Yeah.
Are we still keeping the perfecting eye definer?
Yes,
Yes.
and it actually is coming out in a retractable as
Wait,
well.
you're talking about the lip definer, right?
Oh, yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. I'm like, wait, I just said yes to perfecting eye definer. We don't have that.
Yeah,
I knew
lip
what you meant.
definer.
Okay.
Yes.
So yeah, super creamy, super long wear. One thing I like to do if you're trying to maybe create a wing with one of these colors is take your angled brow brush, get product on that brush, and then go to the eye with it, okay? So that's also a good way to get a really, really thin line too, if you're not able to do that by using the crayon on the eye or using the pencil on the eye. Okay.
And they are all now available for a little while. Like, of course, we're trying to sell through some of the other pencils. They are now all available in retractable.
And one of the things I like to do, and there's multiple products in here, but this is one of them, I'll like mark all the colors on my hand, and then like at trade shows, see how long it lasts, because people are like, oh, what's that on your hand? I'm like, oh yeah, I put this here 6 hours ago. Like it's still there. Because you can wash your hands, and I've even tried to like rub it off and they won't come off. Mm-hmm. So it's a good seller, especially for people that have watery eyes, trouble with, you know, their eye makeup getting messed up. Okay, eye crayons. So we have come out with the new champagne. I'm not sure if you guys have seen that. It is so gorgeous, you guys, and it's great for other areas of the face too. So it is kind of a light, shimmery champagne color. Super easy to like apply on the inner corner, under the brow. One thing about these, they have staying power as well. So if you're gonna blend it, you have to blend it immediately. So keep that in mind. If you're trying to put it under the brow bone, blend that edge immediately or else you're gonna have just like a mark.
And it kind of works if you do it like almost like an eyeshadow primer
Yes.
that you can then also push additional product into.
Right.
So they are retractable. Blackmail is also going to be coming out as retractable. We still have some of both, so we're trying to move through our old inventory. And then we have enough inventory of semi-sweet graphite and jade to last us until
The apocalypse?
the
I don't know.
So if you have clients that love those colors, please, please order them.
These are really great too for people that A, either don't have a lot of time to do their makeup, or B, just don't feel like they're super skilled at it. The Blackmail is fantastic for creating a smoky eye super quickly. So for those of you that were in the hands-on session yesterday, and then the one this afternoon, we talk about one version of smoky eye where the darkest color is concentrated close to the lash line. Blackmail is fantastic for this. Color in that lash line, get some all over the bottom lid, diffuse it and blend it up, and that's all you have to do, and you have a perfect smoky eye. So
and it's
super
also
easy.
waterproof, so you can actually put it on the waterline. I love it when I'm trying to do a really bold smoky eye because I have light blue eyes, and it stays all day. So it's amazing for that. Make sure that you just take it off with your brush to put it on your client. Don't put it right in there.
Well, and we're going to get to the liquid liners, but for those of you that sat in sanitation yesterday or have ever looked at our sanitation doc, you can't use liquid liners on multiple people. So for those clients that really want a super black eyeliner or they want a wing, I use the Blackmail, and it's really nice that the crayon's so fat and chubby because you can load a lot of product on your brush and then draw that wing with it. And this will not budge. And it is a more like matte black. So I know that's kind of a thing, like liquid liners almost have a little bit of shine to them. If you want someone that wants that super matte black wing, use the Blackmail and apply it with a brush. Okay?
Any questions?
What brush do you recommend for blending out
You want to use something that's stiff. You can't use a fluffy brush with it because there's so much wax in these, which is one thing that makes them stay long. You need to use a stiff brush. So I'll sometimes use the Detail. It's a teeny brush though, so you have to be kind of quick with it. The wet dry shadow brush is like my go-to for most things because those bristles are stiff. Yeah, the flat one. Yep. So yeah, you're just going to want to use something that's stiff to blend it out. Yeah. Okay, liquid liners. We have two versions. The first is our magic marker. This guy's been around for a while. We've made a couple improvements to it. The tip is a little bit pointier, and then the formula is a darker black, and it's waterproof. So fantastic liquid liner. Really easy to use. If you're trying to do fine detail work, that's where you're going to want to use the very, very tip of it. If you're kind of just gliding along the lash line, you can actually lay that marker on its side, okay? Or if you're trying to get a thicker line, lay the marker on its side, and you can kind of do like a dash across. I think liquid liner is so intimidating. I personally don't love it every day because it intimidates me. Because, you mess up, and before you know it, your wing is like this big. Because you're like, oh, wait, correct that. Oh, fix this side. And then it just gets out of control. I've found that part of that is because we see all these people that are just whoop, swoop, and done. Okay, most of us cannot do that fluid motion and have it look right? So trying to do like dashes across and connecting dash to dash will give you a really nice line, but you're able to take your time and go slower with it. Okay, so that's a little tip for using the magic marker and getting a nice line and not feeling panicky about it.
Again, make sure you put the lid on tightly because it needs to stay airtight.
Yeah, you'll hear it click.
Click, make sure it clicks. So we had done an in and out last year of the iconic wing liner where you can actually stamp the wing. Did you guys love that? Okay, well, so it worked over so well that we're gonna bring it into the line permanently. and with a new price point of $20 retail.
Wow.
Yeah, so that went into effect as of this month. So if you need to order any, and then they will be available in Cosmoprof.
So you guys have probably noticed, one, there's a stamp on it. The other end is a liner pen, and it's a little bit fatter than the magic marker. But this sucker is the most waterproof you can get. Okay, so if you have someone that loves liquid liner and they are just struggling to get it to stay, this does last longer than the magic marker. The point is really, really nice on this as well. So if you stamp that wing, if you're anything like me, like I tend to push too hard and then the end of the wing is like round, you know? Use that little pin side to perfect the point on your wing. And a tip with the stamp too, I find if I just do this, like I said, I'm too heavy-handed. So you have a triangle like this, put this part down first, and then roll it. Okay? Nobody's wing's gonna be this big, so I don't know why I'm doing that. I mean, I've seen it, but I don't recommend that look. So yeah, if you kind of roll it from the widest part to the tip, you're gonna get a better placement, okay?
And if you notice on most of your displays, there's an extra hole. It fits right in that extra hole.
Question, with the liner, I sometimes find that as I'm trying to like perfect it, it starts picking up. Like so if I put a line and I try to go over it, it kind of
Like lifts.
lifts it, yeah. Do you have a recommendation for that? Or like, am I doing something?
I have not experienced that. Kelly might have a recommendation.
So I would recommend priming it first. So sometimes it's not full, and so it's actually dry on the tip, and then it's actually pulling it. So if you actually just kind of prime it, it'll fill with liquid, and then it blends a lot better. Perfect.
So that is one thing I didn't mention on the magic marker. I recommend, like at home or your consumer, telling them to store it upside down so that tip is always flooded with ink. With this guy, you can't do that because you have two ends. So do make sure that you lay it flat, because if you do stick it in a jar or cup or whatever, the ink won't go to the other end, and so it will constantly be dry. But yeah, you do need to prime it. That's good. I hadn't even thought about that. Okay, questions on Iconic?
I found some disposables that are really, really
Uh-huh.
fun that I've been able to kind of take the magic marker liner on a palette and like scrape some of that ink out of there to then show them.
Yes, we talked about that in sanitation yesterday because you can't use these on multiple people. And if you don't want to use the blackmail, you can take like on a palette and prime that on there, get a little bit of liquid out, or even touch the disposable to the tip to load it with liquid and then use the disposable that way too. Takes a little bit more time, but it is an option.
Well, and we've got the Alter Ego lashes right now, and that's not going to be permanent. They're on sale, and they, I mean, basically come with a free magic marker eyeliner in there. So somebody was saying that when they do a client's face, they get lashes for free, and then they get a magic marker eyeliner, so now they feel like they're walking away with something.
I rope that cost into my applications. And not for everyone, because some people don't want that look, but we talked a lot about consultation yesterday, and so you should kind of have that, an idea of what they're looking for. And so you can say, oh, okay, well, your application includes lashes and it includes a magic marker, and they're like super happy because they get to take stuff home. And then that way you have that marker to use on that client. Okay? All right, mascaras. So we have kind of narrowed down our mascara choices. We want to keep it simple for you guys, and I know some people love Lash Essential, but it really was just not the biggest hit compared to the other two. So we are down to Lash Luxe and our Lasting Lash. So Lash Luxe is first. This formula is fantastic because it does have ingredients in there to help strengthen the lashes so that they can grow longer. Okay, I don't want to be misleading. It does not have a growth serum in it, but it has ingredients in it to strengthen the lashes. Okay, so that's, it has a peptide and it has vitamin B5 in it. So we'll get to AMP later, but if you have someone using AMP, pair that sucker with Lash Luxe because the two together, they are going to see extreme length on their eyelashes. So this is your Do-It-All mascara. This is our bestseller. Lengthens, volumizes, helps curl them a little bit. Just black. People ask us sometimes if we have brown. We do not have brown, so just the black. But this is our go-to mascara, okay?
Not waterproof.
No. So then we have Lasting Lash, which is the waterproof formula. So a new version of this is out. The tube is a little bit different, but the big thing is that the brush has gone to a silicone brush. I personally love silicone brushes. I just find for certain clients specifically, the silicone brush is able to like separate and grab those lashes a little bit easier. But one of the reasons we did it in the waterproof is that you can maybe lengthen and volumize with the Lash Lux and then put a coat of the Lasting Lash on top. And using that silicone brush on top of mascara that's already there is going to apply it better. And this is hard to get off, guys. So people
I want to make it waterproof.
People ask me what to use. The cleanse works pretty well because there's some oils in it. But if you can't get it off with that, you need to use an oil-based remover. Okay.
Or just let the cleanse sit with a wet, warm washcloth, and that seems to work really, better.
Yes, yeah.
Are you doing away with the fiber?
Yes.
Yep.
Serious.
I think we still have lots of it, and
We
I
still
think they've
have
been on
some.
sale for $5 or something. We still have plenty.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What was your question?
I was just gonna say, I found that using the wipeouts before, and it really does kind of help
Break it up.
loosen it up a little bit so that when you cleanse it, it's easier to get
Yep.
Perfect.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. And then AMP. I know I mentioned that a second ago. This is our lash boosting serum. So it does have biotin in it, which I'm sure you guys know is good for hair growth in general. So it works the same on your eyelashes and your eyebrows, which is a big seller for our serum versus some competitors, is that you can use that same serum on lashes and on brows. You don't need two separate products.
It's 1 full ounce bigger than the competitors and $10 less. Obviously, it's nowhere close to the 150 of the multi-level marketing company, so I'm not going to say their name. So, but it is literally the same size tube, and it's $50, and it works. I appreciate the posts that I've been getting from some of the people on the retailers page, but it really is amazing. So you'll want to use it twice a day. I put it with my toothbrush morning and night. You want to let it dry completely before applying any other makeup, but do that consistently for 3 to 4 weeks, and you will see a big difference.
And we have had some people post on Facebook, some before and afters. So go check them out because they are fantastic. And take your own, If you have a client that purchases, ask them to take a before and send you pictures maybe after a couple weeks and then 4 weeks and 6 weeks so that you have that to use as a selling tool. Okay, so I get this question constantly. Can you use AMP or can you use our mascaras with lash extensions? My answer is I'm not going to give you a definitive answer. So reason for that, there are so many versions of adhesive now. It used to be that adhesive, you couldn't use any oil with it, it's going to break down. Now there's some that encourage you to use oil with it because it helps condition the lash and the bond lasts longer. So my recommendation is just to talk to your manufacturer of the lash extension adhesive and let them know the ingredients of this and see if they think it's okay.
I did use it with my lash extensions, and I had a lot of new growth. But like Sarah said, we don't really like to direct anybody to do it or not do it because we don't want somebody to come back on you. So
lash extensions are expensive. We all know that. It's time consuming and they're expensive. They're an investment for people that get them. And the last thing I want to do is say, totally safe. And then you've screwed up their investment, So I steer clear of saying yes or no. It really depends on the adhesive.
well, you can always say put them on the bottom lashes and put them on your eyebrows, and just don't recommend putting them on the top lashes where the eyelash extensions are.
Okay.
So how exactly do you apply it to your lashes? Do you just do it at the base or?
Yeah, so it has a very thin little applicator brush, and you want to put it on basically like where you're putting eyeliner on. So right where the lashes connect to that ridge on your eyelid, put it on there, and go light. You don't want to get too much because if it's like going everywhere, and I haven't had this happen with our serum, but with others, I've had people say that they start growing like little hairs down here. Ours is different, so you shouldn't have that, but you don't want to waste it either. You need just a thin little line. And then on my eyebrows, I actually go against the hair to work it into the skin. Okay, because especially if you already have some hair there, if you go this way, it's sitting on top of the hair. So I work it in against the hair so that it's actually getting to the skin.
What's this retailing for?
$50. And what I also do after I apply it is I blink on the actual wand itself to get the stuff, you know, the serum all the way up through the lashes.
And how long does supply should this last?
I apply mine all the time, and it lasts about 4 months.
Lynn actually did the math on this, right?
It's about 5 months, based on the brand.
Yeah.
So how much more did you say it has?
Has 1 ounce fluid ounce more than the competitors, and the competitors that are sold within like the salon professional chain, there's an eye serum and a brow serum. So you sell it as one, you can use it on both. There's an ounce more, and it's $10 less.
A whole ounce?
A whole
It's 5 milliliters.
5.
compared to 3 milliliters.
Yeah, milliliters. Sorry.
$15 difference.
Okay.
Okay, any more questions on AMP? Yeah.
It's not a silly question, but do you think it would have any kind of effect on any microblading on the eyebrows or anything like that?
I mean, you obviously want to wait till you're completely healed, but it shouldn't do anything like fade the pigment. Yeah. Okay. All right, next item are our Mink Effect Faux Lashes. Okay. These are different a little bit than the Alter Ego, if you guys were familiar with that. These are just gorgeous, and we do only have the one style. We get asked a lot if we have multiple styles. I don't think any of you guys want to have 15 different styles of lashes, right? So we've tried to find some that look good on everyone. They're thick and they're just long enough. We've made the band long enough to fit most eye widths and eye shapes, but they are trimmable, okay? So if it's too long, just clip a little bit off. I personally trim from the inner side as opposed to cutting the long ones off the outer corner. I trim from the inner side here. We do have a little bottle of adhesive that is in the package as well. It's in like a little vial. So it has a little dipstick, which is perfect for like touch-ups if you have a corner pop off. We all know it's really hard to try to get that to re-adhere once it comes off, so that little dipstick is perfect for it. One tip, our glue is clear. I keep black lash glue on hand too. I know that we don't sell that, but for anyone that's gonna be filmed, so like HD filming, black is a little bit better. I worked on Miss America in 2015, and we didn't put lashes on the girls, but they would go put their own on. Then they were on camera, and they kept getting sent back to us. Take the lashes off, take the lashes off. They looked terrible because the clear glue, where it had kind of seeped around the lash band, was reflecting light on the HD camera. So I learned then that if someone's going to be filmed in HD, to use black glue. And so I do that with most of my brides, and then I give them the little vial of lash glue that comes with it so they can keep it handy in case a little corner pops off.
It's really great too to be one for touch-ups, but they are reusable.
Yes.
And so if you give them the pack, I would just, when they take them off, put them on the the band or in the box that they come in. And then it's really great to be able to say, we can really do a full Mirabella bride. You don't want to, I mean, for us, we want you to be able to have everything in your kit to be able to do a full Mirabella bride, and the lashes kind of complete that.
Absolutely. Okay. Yeah. 12. And a tip, and I think I put it in the manual here, I personally struggle with putting lashes on myself. It's harder than putting it on someone else because you have to see. So you can't like close your eyes. So I put a mirror down here on a flat surface and I look down into it. That way your eyelids are this direction, and so your eyelashes are out of the way, but you're looking down into the mirror. And then another tip is to maybe use 2 pairs of tweezers. One on this corner, one on this corner, and place it that way. Okay?
Do you want Sarah to put lashes on her?
No, I don't
Okay.
know.
Okay.
All right. Any more questions about the lash products? Yes.
The one that comes with the magic marker,
Yeah.
is the same price?
The Alter Ego.
Lynn, what did you say? Alter Ego wholesale, huh? $11.25.
Actually cheaper than the black magic marker.
Yeah. And those are while supplies last. So when we run out, those will be out. But those are perfect for holiday right now, so buy them up.
All right, we're gonna move on to brow products. So we have 3 different brow products. The first is the brow pencil. This is another one of those go-to products for Mirabella Minutes, all right? Because you're able to really shape the brow nicely with it. This is waterproof. So this is one of my favorites in the summer, especially because I have to have my eyebrows on. So if I'm going to the lake or I'm going swimming or whatever, I'm still putting my eyebrows on, and they're gonna last as long as you're not rubbing on them, okay? The lead is really, really thin, which allows you to draw those hair strokes. This pencil really is designed for the hair stroke application or for outlining the brow. I can tell you, if you are someone that likes a super opaque brow and you're using this product, you're gonna run through it super fast. And that is a complaint that we've gotten, that it doesn't last as long as people would like. But here's the thing, guys, we only have a couple different options to change that. Either the pencil's this long or you make it fat like an eyeliner, which defeats the purpose of having a skinny pencil to get that hair stroke look, right? So I do not recommend using this to fill in the whole brow. Not to mention that probably doesn't look the best because this is a waxy product. And when you fill in a whole area like that, it can reflect light. And then it's going to not look like hair. It's going to look fake.
Yeah, there is as much product in that pencil as we can get in it. It's not like we're trying to gyp anybody.
Right.
It is.
Honestly, it's a teeny bit more than competitors that you can find at Sephora.
Yeah. So you'll also just not do it with a heavy hand. You'll want to do nice light brush strokes, and it is one of our best sellers.
Yes.
If you were doing any kind of brow waxing, what you want to do is some concealer where it's red, and then just fill in the brow, and hopefully now you've sold them concealer and a brow pencil.
Right. And so I know people have asked about it breaking in the past. One of the reasons for that is that you do not want to have a bunch of makeup in your brows when you go to use this pencil. I personally do my eyebrows and my eye makeup before I do my foundation. But if you're doing eyebrows after you've done foundation and powder and the whole thing, run like a cotton swab through the eyebrow to make sure it's clean, because this is designed to stick to the skin as well. But if you have product in it, it's not going to stick the way it should, and there's going to be too much friction there. Not to mention, like I said, it's not meant to color in the whole brow. So if you're like working the pencil back and forth on top of itself, there's going to be too much friction because it's a waxy product, and that's going to cause that lead to break. And you only want to turn up the teeny little bitty bit that you need. Okay? All right.
Any questions? Go ahead.
Sanitation-wise, I guess, how do you do that when you want to show your guests?
You can use it directly on the client. That's fine because it's not a liquid product. So my recommendation for any retractables like that, yeah, something small like this, I usually have like a paper towel or something, I just break the tip off, okay? Or you can do it with a stick and then hold it upside down, spray it with alcohol, let it dry. Do not turn it right side up because it's gonna go down in the chamber and the alcohol is gonna end up messing up the lead. So you just spray the part that you used, holding it upside down, let it dry, put the cap on, then store it. Okay. So next one is Brow Shaper. So this is basically a brow mascara. It is just a universal color. People have been concerned when they look at it because it looks kind of light in the tube. It does dry down a little bit darker. This is going to help keep those brows in place. It is flexible though. It has enough hold to keep the brows there, but it's not going to feel like super stiff like you put hairspray in your eyebrows. And then this can help fill in holes too. So for those people that like, maybe they have a bunch of hair, but they just have a couple little holes, they need to hold it. This is a super quick little touch up for them. Men like this as well. So good for men's brows, mustaches, if they have those unruly hairs. This kind of helps them lay down and it adds a little bit of color.
And this is a new and improved formula. So we just got it about a month ago, so it's going to start coming in. The brush is slightly smaller, but it goes on the brows much easier than the old formula, and it stays much, much better. It's more of almost a waterproof formula. So as you start getting those, if somebody asks, it is new and improved. And it should say that on the box.
Yeah, that was one of the complaints we had with the other one, that when it's applied to brow hair, chunky isn't the right word, but it grouped together a little bit. Like there were a little bit of clumping, I guess. So this just glides on a little bit easier so you don't have that look. Okay, third brow product is the Quick Brow Powder. So we do get asked why it's like this and not in a compact. This is actually so easy for your clients to use. They don't have to have a separate brush, okay? The little spongy guy in here, I don't recommend using this on multiple clients, like from your unit, but for clients that, you know, they just need a quick little touch, this is perfect. It lays down the right amount of color. I find that older clients like that as well or somebody that can't see, okay, where they don't want to be super precise or they can't be super precise. That is like a great width to lay down a good amount of color. The cool thing about this version, with it being basically a loose powder, is that it has a dried form of shea butter in it, which once it's laid down, it sticks to the skin too. So this is actually really great for like men's beards, if they have a little hole. This is really great for people that are missing like the tail of their eyebrow, because what's going to happen is it's going to stick to the skin, but it's also going to stick to that vellus hair. So that fine little baby hair that we have, it's going to stick to that as well. So it will make it look like you have more brow hair than you do.
And big brows are in right now. I mean, it's coming back. So for us that have plucked too much for too long, dang it, use some amp and make sure we're growing back.
Yep.
Yeah.
So this is what I recommend if you have somebody, or if you personally like that super opaque brow. You know, draw some hair strokes, outline it if you need to with a brow pencil, but fill in with this. Okay, your pencil's going to last a lot longer and it's going to look more natural, especially because you're probably going to have two different tones there, which looks more like real hair. So I get asked all the time what to do for sanitation on this, and I don't think that we talked about that in the sanitation guide. So you can use your lip gloss wands. That will mimic the sponge applicator in it, or you can tap some out onto a palette and then use it with a brush if you want to. Okay. Trucking right along. All right, now we're getting to more of our complexion products, but more for the cheek area. First is the Sculpt Duo. So we have 3 different compacts. 2 are shimmery, 1 is matte. So the matte one is Hugs and Kisses. Sometimes people see it and they're like, oh my God, that's so brown and it's so yellow. These are powders, so you have to imagine that when it's applied on the skin, it's sheared out. These colors are fantastic for highlighting and contouring. And I know that we talked about that in the hands-on, and we'll talk about it again. True highlighting and contouring is meant to mimic shadow and light on the face. It's not to add shimmer, it's not to bronze up the skin, it is to mimic shadow and light so that you're sculpting the face. And that's where this powder comes into play. It's also fantastic for people that have a lot of texture on the skin and they don't want shimmer. If you have large pores, scarring, wrinkles, sometimes you have to be very careful about using shimmer on the skin, and especially too much shimmer, because it's going to exacerbate the look of that texture on the skin. So that's where Hugs and Kisses comes in. It is fantastic for that. The other 2 Sculpt Duos do have the shimmer. They are perfect to layer with the Hugs and Kisses. I also use them constantly on eyes. So I know we were talking earlier about warm eyeshadow palettes. The Sculpt Duos and the blushes are fantastic for the eyes. So if you have somebody that wants like that copper or more of a warm tone, go to the Sculpt Duos and the blushes. You can also use these wet too. So the Sculpts are super shimmery, and so I will use them wet with the Bulletproof, and it is just an awesome, fantastic foiled eye. Okay. Blush duos, we have 4 different duos. 2 of them have 1 matte and 1 shimmer, and 2 of them have 2 shimmers. So there are a little bit of a variety of textures. People ask me how to use these all the time. I mean, it is really personal preference. I know, it's blush. So you can, some of them have an option, depending on the colors, to almost do like a sculpting of the face. So you could use the darker color like below the cheekbone and the lighter color above the cheekbone or on the apple of the cheek. You can blend them too. So I will do that. Take my brush and get some of both. to make kind of a custom color for somebody.
And you can use the Sculpt Duos as a blush as well.
Absolutely.
So they really, all of them can be used on the whole face and just play around.
A little tip, and we talked about this yesterday. If you get too much like contour or too much blush where you're like, oh my God, I'm a clown, like what do I do? And you've tried to like blend it out with your powder brush or whatever, put some Pure Press on top of it. And for more mature clients that have texture or wrinkling on the skin, they're like, well, I don't know which blush to choose because all of them have shimmer, or this compact has one that's shimmer and I can't use that. Yes, you can. What you're going to do is put the blush on a little bit heavier than you normally would, and you're going to put Pure Press on top of it. Okay, so the color's still going to show through, but the Pure Press is going to take down that shimmer.
First time I ever learned how to put on makeup, that's how we were taught to apply makeup, is put it on darker and then put your Pure Press, or
your powder on top.
powder on top, right? And then it stays longer and it's a little bit more.
Yep, absolutely.
Yep.
Okay, questions? All right, we're getting into our lip products now. So lip definers, the packaging is almost identical to the eye definers. So make sure that you're keeping those separated on your unit. I have had someone tell me they accidentally grabbed Midnight and started applying it to somebody's lips because they just weren't paying attention. You can't get it off. So make sure you're keeping those separated. So these are retractable as well, super long wear. So for me, if I was working on a bride or somebody that they needed their lip to last all day, I'm going to choose a lip definer and fill in the entire lip. Okay, so you'll line the lip, fill in the whole lip, and then put an additional product on top of it.
Now that's only if they want gloss, because you cannot put the lip definer with the matte lip glosses,
Gloss, right.
because there's oils in it, so you can't do that. But we did find out that you can use them with the new velvets without any problems.
Which is awesome.
Yeah.
So if you like that matte look, but you really like to line your lips, you want a super sharp lip line, you can line the lips and then put one of the new matte velvets on top of it and it's going to stay. It's totally fine. So super long wear, and there are colors in this that actually make pretty eyeliners. I don't recommend doing the other way around. Like I said, no eyeliner on your lips, but is it Sassy maybe? One of the like darker lip liners looks super cool as an eyeliner too.
Any of the plumbing ones like that look great, especially if you have green eyes. It will really make those green eyes pop. It's really fun.
Okay, questions on lip definers? And I know Ariel asked a little bit ago, we do still have the Perfecting Lip Definer. It's not going anywhere, and it will be coming out retractable eventually as well. And we've given it a clear cap and a clear little, maybe not a clear cap, just a clear acrylic on the end where the sharpener is, so that you can differentiate it on your unit. Cool thing about the Perfecting Lip Definer too is that you can actually use it to fill in little lines and wrinkles. So I take it outside the lip line on people that have those little vertical lines around their mouth. I have them smile or stretch their lips, and I work that into that lip line on the skin, and it helps fill that in a little bit. That's a tip for the lip definers in general. I'm sure you all have noticed if you've ever looked up close at your own mouth or somebody else's, when you put lip liner on, we all have these teeny tiny little lines around here. That gets skipped. Okay, even if that liner is super creamy and glides, you need to stretch the mouth out. So have them smile, make funny faces, whatever you need to do. Work that lip definer into those little crevices, because that's what's going to create that like barrier, so that no makeup and no gloss can like seep through those little guys. Okay. Oh, and the Perfecting lip definer, if you were in a pinch, this can work as a eyeshadow primer. Okay, so color it on, blend it out. You want to make sure, again, you have just a thin layer of it, but this can work on the eyes too. Okay, velvet lip pencils. I know we mentioned them. These are now retractable, and they are now a new formula that will dry down to a matte.
I know everybody is selling these like
Fantastic.
crazy, right? They are amazing. And the thing is, for me, I obviously kind of told you guys my story yesterday. I have still very, very sensitive lips. So I cannot personally wear our matte lip glosses, even though they are really, really great. They irritate my lips. I can wear the velvet pencils all day. They literally stay all day and they do not affect my lips. So the question that we were getting is, hey, our matte lip glosses are selling like crazy. We only have 4 colors. I've now given you guys 6 more colors. Now.
Okay, so like we mentioned, you can use lip definers with these to get that super sharp lip line, because with a chubby crayon, that's a little hard to do. But I use my detail brush with these products all the time. So that's a teeny tiny little brush, perfect lip brush. So I will actually take it to the tip of the pencil, or I'll like scrape some off and work from a palette and use that lip brush to apply it and get a really nice crisp lip line as well. These feel good. So I think that was something people liked about the original version of the Velvet Lip Pencils, is that they felt really good when you put them on the lip. These go on the same way. You just want to give it a couple minutes to dry. And I do like to tell people that, because I have people put it on and they're like, well, it's not matte. No, it hasn't dried. Just give it a second.
You can just put it on your hand, and the nice thing is it is blendable. Like if you want to mix a couple different colors together, it's blendable. Give it a couple of minutes and then it dries, and honestly, it just doesn't move. We when we were trying all these colors in, we'd all be walking in the next day and they'd still be on our hands. We're like, did you shower?
Right.
So,
I promise I did.
I did.
All right, questions about the Velvet Lip Pencils? No? All right, Seal with the Kiss lipstick. This is one of the products I'm super proud of because the packaging is so gorgeous on our lipsticks. Not to mention, for those of you that had Mirabella prior, there is more product in the tube now. I found some old literature that said they originally started like making it a smaller bullet so it fit the curvature of the mouth better. But everyone else in the world has this standard lipstick size. So we've gone back to that. It's more product for you guys. But the packaging feels really nice and heavy, which is something that clients comment on all the time. And we didn't talk about that with the eyeshadow palettes, but people equate that weight with luxury.
Yeah, for
You
sure.
know?
Well, and I mean, I'm sure you guys know, but you know, we really spent a lot of time on the little fine details. And if you look, these are lips that are etched onto the lip gloss, or lipstick. So we really spent a lot of time on the little details because we want it to feel really luxurious. We want people to want to leave it on their bathroom counter because it's gorgeous.
Well, not to mention that it looks better on your unit. I mean, we have put the acrylic piece on the top that has the shade on here so that you guys don't have to mess with those ugly clear caps anymore. So it just looks streamlined on your display unit. Okay, questions about these?
They also really glide on a little bit easier than the older formulas, and they're very moisturizing with jojoba and vitamin E. So again, it's just very, very creamy and very smooth, but also long wearing.
And super highly pigmented too. I think that's something that you find with some lipsticks, like it looks great in the bullet, and then you put it on, it's like too sheer. You're like, well, that's not the color I wanted. These are actually true to what they look like in the bullet because they're so highly pigmented. Okay. So lip gloss, I'm gonna let you talk about that a little bit.
Like we said yesterday, if you stayed for the Pure meeting, a lot of times you'll see some crossover. And obviously, we started out because I had chronically chapped lips. We made this amazing lip gloss, which was jojoba, sweet almond oil, and vitamin E. It wasn't sticky. The one thing that people would say is, oh my gosh, it just kind of feels like chapstick or whatever, only because people, that's kind of their go-to term for when it feels like lip balm. So non-sticky. So I will tell you that it's a very, very similar formula to our Pure. I did make it more heavily pigmented because I knew doing brides and in our industry that we'd want it more pigmented. But it is great for your lips. So if you have somebody that struggles with chapped lips, you'll want to sell them one of the sugar primes and then give them the lip gloss to wear all day because it's going to help heal them. And a lot of people don't understand lanolin. Lanolin actually soaks into the top 2 layers of skin and gives you a natural barrier against losing your moisture. Whereas anything that's wax-based or petroleum-based, or I can't even say that word that most lip glosses is filled in, it just sits on the surface and that's why it's sticky and also just kind of rubs off or falls off. Whereas you will have to reapply if you want gloss because it's actually soaking into your skin to help heal it.
So one thing that you'll notice too is the fine details. So on the shiny lip gloss, we have a silver collar on the tube, which sets it apart from the mattes on your unit because the mattes have a gold color. with the little cap, if you will. I don't know what you call that actually.
It's a collar.
This piece.
Oh, cap.
These are lips on here as well. So just those fine little details. One thing I like to mention about the gloss is there are colors of our gloss that make really pretty highlighters. So I know that kind of this like dewy skin finish is in right now. And that's a way to get a little bit of a highlight and make it look dewy as opposed to using a powder. So luster is really great for that. I think Lavish, that's one I was thinking of. I always remember Vintage, not Lavish. But those two make really, really gorgeous highlighters. Okay, and then we have our matte formula lip gloss. So like we were mentioning earlier, you cannot use this with a lip liner and you cannot put gloss on top of it if you want to maintain the long wear matte look. I have people all the time that love Bombshell, the red one, and then they want to put a little gloss on top. That's totally fine if you want to do that. You just have to know it's not going to last. The oils in the gloss break down that matte finish, so you will have to reapply both throughout the day. These are super long wear. They are flexible on the lips. I do get asked often how you apply this to a client because it dries and then it is there. So you have to be careful about the lip line. I personally use my detail brush to do that. So I'll get a little bit of the matte lip gloss out onto a palette and I'll go in with my detail brush to kind of line the lip with it. I mean, sometimes I surprise myself and I'm super skilled with a disposable lip wand, but that is not most of the time. So keep that detail brush on hand for those things.
Did you use a velvet lip pencil to line for the matte lip glosses?
No, I don't think so because it
It has
has
the oils.
It has some oils
Yeah.
and it has that waxy texture.
And we learned this the hard way. We did not know. We had gone and done an event, and so we lined the model's lips and then put the
was Bombshell.
the Bombshell on her, and she came back. She's, oh my gosh, the Bombshell stayed on everywhere but the line, and we're like, oh well, I guess we need to.
Yep, and
Not-
the class
it was-
is like, look at this. It's like bare right around the edge of the lip.
We're like,
Oh, okay,
yeah,
that makes sense.
yes. So, anyways,
Okay, yeah.
What's the easiest way to clean lipstick out of your brush?
You need to wash it as soon as you can. And unfortunately with that hair, because it's lighter colored, you might stain it. So wash it as soon as you can. I use Dawn when it's something really hard to get out. But because these are so heavily pigmented, the bristles of that brush are porous. And so it's gonna soak up that color. So I actually have multiple detail brushes and I reserve one or two only for lips because they will stain.
Miranda was saying earlier that now that we have more mattes, I've mixed a lot of the 4 mattes together, and like the Trendsetter and the Bombshell is a gorgeous
I've done that.
winter red.
Yes,
So pretty, and then like so you can really create like 16 colors
absolutely.
out of mixing those around a little bit.
Yep.
and then that gives you 2 items to sell to your clients.
Yes.
And in case you guys didn't hear her, she was talking about mixing Bombshell colors together.
The mattes.
Yes.
Yes, the matte.
Bombshell, jeez.
How we doing on time? Oh,
Yeah,
yeah, I gotta go.
Gloss to the matte, you said that will not make it last as long. Like, how long does it take for that to break down?
I mean, it's still going to be a couple of hours, but you're just not going to have that flawless look of that consistent color across if you're going to put a lip gloss. Because
And it
it's just,
depends
yeah.
on how much you put on too,
Yeah.
you know?
Well, and talk, everybody's so different when it comes to that kind of thing, and how much, somebody could last all day, and then some people it's going to last 30 minutes.
I have a weird thing where lipstick just stays on my lips. I don't know why, like, yay, but it just happens. And I've done it where I put one of the mattes on and I have put gloss on top of it just to alter the color or give it a little shine. And I'll notice that the lip gloss transfers off like onto a cup or something like that. But later in the day, I still have a little bit of the matte on. Right, right. It depends on the person. Like I said, for some reason it lasts forever on me. Somebody else, it could just completely come off. But you may still have a layer of it on there.